As possible. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming. Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same. It is a massive mistake, and it's a mistake that will cost you money, not the agents. Your clients are free to just walk away.
All our clients tonight could watch this and say, take my house off the market.
You need to find the least terrible estate agent. But here's my advice on how to price when you're renegotiating. There's nothing else you need. If you've got this 150 quid, that's it, you can move in.
Oh, right. Oh.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
Good evening, everybody, and happy 2023. This is Moving Home with Charlie, and welcome back. I'm Charlie, and tonight I will be sharing with you all of my helpful insights, or I hope that they're helpful insights for the 2023 property market, specifically for home movers. My channel is called Moving Home with Charlie, and that's a deliberate choice of words because I'm not here to talk about investments ever. I'm here to help people move and give them advice and share my insights from inside the property industry about getting yourself moved onto your next phase of your life or your next home. Welcome to all my new subscribers. It's just so exciting and thrilling every time I see more and more people signing up and subscribing on YouTube and on TikTok and on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and everywhere. It's just found Facebook as well. And engagement across all of them is actually growing, which was a surprise. But I would like to begin this evening by asking all of my regular viewers. I was quite surprised last year. I kept on discovering that there are a lot of people out there moving who haven't come across my channel and are completely unaware of everything that I've been saying. Now, of course, if I stop and think about it, I don't expect everybody to know about my channel yet. But if you think that what I'm sharing in these videos is helpful for people moving home, and if you know someone else who is about to move home or is in the process of moving home, then it would really help me, and I hope help them, if you could let them know. So if you think of that person that you individually know who's moving house, let them know about this channel. Because I am getting an increasing number of people sending me messages saying either I've been following your channel for a while and you helped me dodge a big mistake, or I've had people who are messaging me saying, I've only just discovered your channel. I wish I found it sooner. I'm now, for example, trapped. I signed a long-term lock-in with an estate agent. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know how to avoid it. So I'm here to help people avoid and reduce the number of pitfalls that you're going to fall into when you're moving house. So, and on that note, so as you know, my message is always move now, buy now if you can, but just don't overpay. Well, I have an additional secondary message that I want to start really pushing out at the beginning of 2023, which is to anybody selling for any reason, whether you're selling just to get out and you're not buying, or whether you are selling in order to buy. It's come to my attention that more than 50% of you who responded in a survey did not even know that there was a thing that you could be signed in to a long-term sole agency contract with your estate agent. And so I've had a number of people tell me that they signed up with an estate agent that they liked and thought they could trust. That estate agent has failed to find them a buyer within a month or two. They now don't believe that they're going to get a sale with that agent and they want to move, and they've discovered that they can't move. So if you know anyone selling, please make sure you pass on the message that whichever agent they choose, do not sign a long-term lock-in, okay? Absolute maximum you should agree to is 8 weeks, but preferably 4 with a 2-week rolling notice of termination. That's what you should be doing. And most good agents will accept that. A lot of the larger ones won't like it. But this time last year, a whole year ago, when we were selling my colleague Sam's home, we asked all local agents, and 11 out of 18 said that they didn't require a long-term lock-in. So 2/3 of agents don't require you to sign long-term lock-ins. And you should, when you're talking to agents about selling a house, you should begin by saying, by the way, if you have a long-term sole agency lock-in, don't even come around to my house. Just don't even come around. I'm not going to sign it. Okay. The reason it's a massive mistake to sign it is in a falling market, which we are in now, even if the price reporting hasn't caught up because of the time lag, you end up stuck in a 3 to 6 month lock-in with an agent that's not selling your house, and you're sitting there stuck and you can't sell with anyone else while the value of your property is just falling and falling and falling, and you're going to miss out on your new home. Anyway, so that's point number one. And cheers, everyone. Happy New Year. Now, let me start with house prices. I'm simultaneously broadcasting on YouTube and TikTok as well as LinkedIn and everywhere else. Hi, everybody. Got loads of you commenting. I'm going to just... that's really distracting, so I'm not going to look at the comments yet. I'll come on to your questions a bit later, though, okay? I promise. Prices. This is... I'm not going to spend too long on prices. My position hasn't changed. I'm expecting, on average, 35% falls in house prices from the peak, which, in my estimation, was deals that were being agreed in May 2022, that were being reported in November, December 2022. So the official house prices, if you look at the ONS house prices, they show that prices have plateaued in the November and the December ONS reports. And I think you're going to start to see them actually showing drops as they come out, the January ones come out, etc. So I think that those falls are going to last 18 to 24 months at the coalface. So you're talking about December 23 through to June 2024, but not being reported until the end of 2024. And the majority of movers out there, people who are not watching my channel, are unaware of the 6-month time lag and unaware of what's happening. And so you've still got people who are overpaying, and you've still got sellers thinking that they're going to get a great price for their house. And I just don't think that's the case in most instances. So now, one question I do want to just go into on this video is, what do I think might change my forecast of 35% house falls? Well, here's a list of things that could alter that forecast one way or the other. And these are major unpredictable unknowns. So in no particular order, the Ukraine conflict, if that ends sooner than expected, and I was actually having a conversation with a retired army general just 2 days ago, who says that someone he knows is predicting that the most optimistic outcome is that Ukraine has won and has even taken Crimea back by August 2023, but he didn't agree. He thinks that's too optimistic. While others don't see an end to this conflict in view at the moment. It's going to keep on rumbling on the long term. I don't have a view on that either way. But at the moment, my assumption on the Ukraine conflict is that there isn't an end in sight within the next 12 months. But if that does come to an end, that probably will have quite a big impact on all sorts of things. Energy prices, stock markets, and I would want to revisit my 35% price fall if the Ukraine conflict ended sooner. Now, next point is the potential for conflict between China and Taiwan. It's being discussed quite a lot, and it's being reported that tensions are increasing quite a lot. I don't have a view on it, but if that conflict were to come to a head, the problem for the UK and the whole of Western Europe and the US is that we get more of our silicon chips, computer chips from Taiwan than anywhere else in the world. And if China makes moves to take control of Taiwan, that's going to impact the economy. And again, that would be a massive shockwave if it looks like there's going to be no, fingers crossed that there isn't, right? But if it looks like there's going to be any conflict between China and Taiwan, that would have a definite effect on world markets and the UK economy as well. I hesitate to even mention it, but there's mutterings about pandemics again. And again, if we end up, I don't think we're ever going to be back in the realm of lockdowns. I think they've realized that didn't actually work in terms of containing anything. It may have helped the NHS, of course, but I don't think it helped in terms of the actual spread or anything else. I think it's probably caused other indirect problems just as big. So I'm assuming that there are no lockdowns this year. But if there was a resurgence and any lockdowns, that would make me want to revisit my assumptions. I'm assuming that there's not going to be an election in the UK in 2023. But hey, no one thought there was going to be a change of lead, 2 changes of leader in 2022 either, did they? So UK politics is nothing if not unpredictable. But any unexpected election announcement or change of leadership again would again impact things. And the final one on my list of things to watch is inflation. I don't have an opinion on what inflation is going to do. It is currently high. Forecasts vary significantly about when it's going to come down. At the moment, my assumption on inflation is that it is not coming down fast. But if it does come down sooner than expected and faster than expected, I'm not talking about slightly coming back down to 9 or to 8%. I'm talking about dropping suddenly sort of below 5.43% sooner than expected. That would also have an impact, and I want to revisit my pricing forecast at that point. But in the absence of any of those things happening, I'm still sticking with 35%. And I wanted to remember that varies regionally. I think the minimum drops will be 15%. The maximum will be up to 50%, 50. And don't forget that even in the same town or city, you can have one borough that's going to have a very different market to another borough. You know, if you've got places that are very affluent and there's a shortage of quality homes, they may not see the same price falls as other places. You know, so there will always be exceptions. And if you're sitting there thinking, don't be ridiculous, Charlie, prices aren't going to fall that much where I live, you might be right. You might be right, because there are always exceptions. But overall, that's still my view. And I don't know if you noticed, but the media has gradually been reporting more and more expectation of house price falls. My last point on house prices before I move into what I think is actually important stuff to go through for anyone that's moving home or planning to move home in 2023. My last point on prices is this. As far as I know, at no point preceding any previous house price fall did any of the major forecasters accurately forecast the falls. It was in all cases worse than forecast. The 2008 and 9 and the early 1990s one and the 70s one, none of the main lenders or banks or major economists actually forecast how bad it would be. It was worse than all of their forecasts, as far as I know. If you know differently, please let me know. I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments below. So what we do have is people ranging in their forecast drops from sort of 8 to 12% in 2023. My 35% goes beyond that. It goes to the end of 2024. How far they're going to fall in 2023? I mean, it's such a vague thing because it's so nebulous and the time lag and everything else. But I think that by this time next year, by January 2024, taking into account the time lag in price reporting, you're going to have seen at least 15% falls. I'd be surprised if it's not 15%. That's actually the first time I've ever considered what my annual house price fall prediction is going to be. But there we are, off the top of my head. About 15% on average will be being reported by January 24. That's what I think. Okay, but guys, that's not the big news here, right? The big news for 2023 house moving, if you want to move home, is actually less to do with prices. There is forecast to be, and in fact, we're already seeing a reduction in transaction volumes. Now, this has the effect of threatening the viability and existence of some businesses who operate in the home moving industry. So, estate agents, conveyancers, brokers, surveyors, all businesses that rely on transaction volumes, ignoring fees and prices, just they need transactions. They need a constant throughput of transactions. And although I don't have a firm opinion on transaction volumes, what's being widely expected within the estate agency industry are transaction volume falls in 2023 of around about 20 to 25%. Right, a 20 to 25% reduction in transaction volumes, not prices, transaction volumes, is being expected by the industry itself in 2023. Now, this is causing major turmoil in the home moving industry, and that has the effect of creating the disruption for the moving process for customers of those businesses. Now, a lot of them, the majority of them are going to be fine. However, the one that is worth mentioning, and I've put a link to it in the notes below this video, wherever you can. And if you're watching on TikTok, you need to go and check. I can't put links on TikTok, so you've got to go and check out my YouTube version of this video to see a link to a story. If you just Google it, I'll actually just share it on the screen now. For those of you watching everywhere except TikTok, here is the story. Okay. So Metamorph crisis. So Metamorph is a legal group that owns a whole basket of conveyancing brands. And this is a story from the middle of December. And the troubled Metamorph group of legal practices continues to fight for its life this week as firms were rocked by resignations, winding up orders, and office closures. Now, that's going to be affecting a lot of people. However, it's not. I've actually spoken to lawyers and I've said to them, look, what happens in this scenario? And there's actually a legal association that helps take over the clients of failing legal practices to make sure that any client monies and any cases are not just abandoned. Okay, but it does cause disruption and delay, and that can lead to more chains breaking down. Now, that's just in the conveyancing sector. There are also, there's a very, very high instance of staff turnover in an estate agency. When estate agents see the writing on the wall for transaction volumes, a lot of staff will just leave early. They won't wait to be pushed. They'll just move to another industry. And I've already had people saying to me, oh God, I've had a nightmare because I signed up with this estate agency because I really like the branch manager. He's now left and I'm signed into a 3-6 month contract and no one's calling me back and I can't get a response and I'm stuck with them. So that's another thing. The people that you deal with might start to be switching around. So if you are talking to agents and you're thinking of signing up with an agent as a seller, I'd be saying, you're not going anywhere, are you? You're going to be staying there until my property is sold, right? I'd be being much more cautious about the effects of turmoil and disruption within the moving industry itself. Now, that conveyancing story of Metamorph was triggered by Connells. Okay, Connells is the UK's largest estate agency group. It bought out Countrywide, so it's a huge. I mean, you're talking nearly 2,000 branches of estate agents, but a number of different brands, brands from all levels of the market as well. They triggered this by issuing a winding up petition against Metamorph law for non-payment of referral commissions. Okay. What this is that when you don't have a conveyancer lined up and you are buying or selling a property with an estate agent and they say, do you have a conveyancer? And you say no. And they say, would you like us to recommend one? And you say yes. They, oh, we'll recommend you these guys. Now, Metamorph, I'm not really up to speed on this, but reading between the lines is they're a high volume call center. It's called like a battery farm, a very high volume, very low cost conveyancing. Where estate agents are referring them just because they get a very nice referral commission, not because they're the best. And so you must be choosing, whether you're buying or selling, your choice of conveyancer in 2023 is critical, okay? Because as you'll see as I go into it, the chances of deals falling through in 2023 is going to be higher than normal for a long list of reasons. And that's going to make moving home harder. And it means that through no fault of your own, your move may not happen for reasons completely beyond your control and beyond your estate agent's control. So for those of you who are really committed to moving home in 2023, what I'm saying is it's going to be harder than usual because of the turmoil and disruption caused by falling transaction volumes, because of the turmoil caused by staff changing around and companies going out of business, and also because in an economic downturn, in a recession, where you have movers changing their mind, so buyers and or sellers just changing their mind for life reasons that they don't want to move and pulling out of a transaction, the likelihood of that happening is increasing because of the amount of the increased levels of uncertainty in the economy, people losing their jobs when they weren't expecting to lose their jobs, all kinds of stuff. There's just going to be a lot more uncertainty and turmoil than usual. Now, in the last couple of years, when any property that came on the market was basically flying off the shelf within a matter of weeks, the number of deals falling through was actually dropped to the lowest. I saw a story today in the Times from George Nixon that it was down to 24% was the actual fall through rate of agreed deals. Now that's much lower than average. In the long-term average, pre-pandemic, you're talking about more like 35% as a typical fall through rate for deals. It's now gone back up to that already in December last year, according to this report. And I see it going up further. So if your reason for moving is more because you need to move than it is about house prices, and moving is an imperative for you, then my message to you is you need to be even better prepared than usual, and you need to be ready and prepared for disruption and pullouts, and know what your plan is going to be if that happens. If you are a seller who's in the lucky position of being able to choose between different offers from buyers, I'd be choosing much, much more carefully than normal. Who is not going to pull out of this deal? Okay, because getting the sale done so that you can move into your new house is going to be more important for you if moving is an imperative than just getting a few extra £1,000 on the sale of your home. Okay. And hopefully you've got lots of questions, guys. I'm not yet looking at the questions, but you will have them. Tennis man, no, my 35% is not including inflation. It is nominal. It's excluding inflation. And yes, the area percentage will be different. Right. So the things you've got going against you if you are moving home is you've got the current pricing standoff. Okay, you've got sellers, and I hear this all over the place, this sort of bewildering thing being done by sellers. I heard once recently a seller's put his house back on the market after a deal that was agreed in May fell through, and they put it back. And back in May, the deal was agreed at higher than asking price. Guess why it's fallen through? But they've put it back on not at the previous asking price, but at the price that the deal was agreed at, even higher than the asking price they had in May. It's just bewildering. And now there are several reasons for this. Okay, there are sellers. I've been over the Christmas holiday break. I've been talking to people who don't know about what I'm doing and don't know about moving over Charlie and Best Agent. They're just the people I don't see that very often. And we got talking about housing market, and they were sort of completely unaware that the housing market is facing any kind of change. Oh, really? Oh, is it? Oh, I see. Oh, so we're not seeing record prices anymore then? They're completely out of touch. So when you've got the combination of someone who's not keeping up to speed with the latest news and intelligence on the property market, and then they go and sign up with an estate agent who has not yet come to terms with the reality of the property market. And guess why the seller signs up with that agent, right? Because the seller doesn't think it's a problem. And this agent is the one telling them the prices are still going really high. So they sign up. And it's a marriage made in hell, because it's going to end badly for the mover and the agent. Okay. So that's why this is not, some people think that it's agents doing this on purpose. Like they're just trying to keep the market propped up. But actually, that doesn't make sense. An agent wouldn't knowingly do that, because they're not going to make any money, because they won't be able to sell a property that they do that with. All right. So typically speaking, the agents who are listing properties at unrealistically high prices are just agents who are themselves out of touch with what's happening in the wider economy and the effect it's having on house prices. And you might say, well, hang on a second, they're in the industry, how can they not know what's happening to house prices? Being an estate agent is an incredibly difficult job, even when it's not in a bad market. And keeping abreast of macroeconomic fundamentals is something that's, as I know, is very, very time consuming. And most agents are just too busy to do it. And they're only really concerned with their local market, but they don't have time to go and process the time lag effects and what it means and that kind of stuff. They're just busy answering the phone, going to appointments, trying to tie up deals. That's typical agents. Now, the really professional and good agents who do invest time in being a step ahead of the market and do know what's happening will be advising their clients better. Now, So when you add together the Mexican standoff between sellers and buyers, the turmoil in the moving industry, things like conveyancers going out of business, global uncertainty, so potential conflict in Taiwan, maybe Ukraine, and global recession, as well as recession in the UK, it's like, even if you find a property, even if you agree a price, the odds of that deal falling through are going to be higher than usual, and it's worth bearing that in mind. So what can you do about it? Let me just do a couple of minutes on this, and then I'll take some questions. Let me just go through these things. If you are a buyer and you want to buy sooner rather than later because you need to move into a new home, and you haven't got time to wait for prices to fall all the way they're going to fall, then you need to get your ducks in a row, have your mortgage lined up, have a conveyancer that's not going to go out of business lined up, be out there viewing properties, so that when that one property out of 10 that comes onto the market, which has a really desperate, motivated seller, and it suits what you're looking for, the agent is going to call you because they know you're really committed to moving. And you'll be the one that gets the call going, we've got a property coming on tomorrow. The seller's super motivated. Do you want to come and see it? And if you want to be a buyer getting that call from the agent, you've got to cooperate with agents, be respectful of them. Don't make the mistake of treating agents badly because you think estate agents deserve bad treatment because of their reputation. They are people doing a difficult job. They're making a living. And if you treat them with respect and courtesy, and as a fellow human being doing a difficult job, you're much more likely to get that call when that really motivated seller comes on the market. Okay, agents can choose who they call. And even though it's the buyer's market and there are fewer buyers out there, there are still plenty of buyers out there. There are cash buyers waiting for bargains, and there are first-time buyers waiting for bargains as well. And you want the agent to be the one to call you, okay? And to do that, have your ducks in a row, your mortgage lined up, your conveyancing lined up, view regularly, don't be late for viewings, don't do a no-show, treat the agent with respect, and make yourself the person that the agent wants to call, because when they get that property where the seller is going, look, I don't care what you sell it for, I just need it sold now, you want the agent to think, oh yeah, I'm going to call Charlie. I know he's going to be keen for this property and I'll get a deal done quickly. Right? Does that make sense? So that if you're a buyer, especially a cash buyer, yes, but mostly if you're a buyer with a mortgage, you need to get your mortgage as ready as it's possible to get it. So, and if you're a first-time buyer watching this and you don't yet have a mortgage broker you're talking to, but please come and talk to mine, mhwc.co.uk/mortgage. Let's quickly pop that on the screen for you there. I'm working with a couple of hand-picked guys that are really outstanding. They're not typical mortgage brokers. They're much more concerned with the well-being of their customers than average. And I recommend using them. I'm getting great feedback from them. So please try those guys. Now, okay, so that's for buyers. So what about sellers? Now, if you are selling in order to move home, so let's just talk about sellers who are also buyers, then what I just said about being a buyer applies to you as well. But I want to draw your attention to a video I did just before Christmas, which is cool. It's about the options when you're selling and buying. And I just discussed the differences between selling and buying simultaneously and selling, completing that transaction, finding somewhere temporary to live, and then buying separately. And the reasons why sometimes doing the two transactions separately, even though it's got the hassle of two moves, can take less time than trying to get two transactions to happen simultaneously, which is spinning a lot more plates. So if you haven't seen it, go and watch that video. It's on my YouTube channel. Otherwise, if you are a seller, let me recap. Do not sign a lock-in contract. A long-term lock-in sole agency contract exists for one reason only: to stop you from leaving an estate agent when you want to leave them. That is the only reason for the existence of that clause in the contract, okay? To stop you leaving when you want to leave. So do you want to find yourself in that scenario where you want to leave the agent you've chosen because they failed you, and you want to move to someone else because you've been talking to other agents you found one you like, but you can't because you signed this lock-in deal? Don't sign a lock-in deal, number one. Number two, talk to as many agents as you can. You are looking for an agent that is not going to tell you, yeah, everything's fine, don't worry about it, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine. For most people, there might be exceptions, but for most people, we are in a falling market, and you need an intelligent, experienced professional agent who says, This is how we're going to get your property sold quickly before the market falls too far. When you find that agent and you trust them, do not try and haggle on their fee. It's just demotivating, right? They're going to have their work cut out, and it's demoralizing and demotivating, and ultimately shooting yourself in your foot. When you find an agent, that is your partner. It's the person you're choosing to get you through one of the most stressful and uncertain phases of your life. You really want to batter them over the head and demotivate them by saying, by the way, I don't think you're worth your fee, I want to pay you less. It's just not a good idea. Motivate your agent. Because when the going gets tough, and in this market, it is already tough and going to get tougher, what you want is a motivated agent. All right. So choose your agent carefully. And if you don't know who to choose and you want to try it out, go to bestagent.co.uk and try the find your agent function there, where we find your 20 nearest agents to see which ones are keenest for your business. We protect your contact information until they contact you, at which point you can then choose which ones you want to release your contact details to. It's still work in progress. It is working. It's work in progress, but costs you nothing to use it, and makes it easier to find a really great agent. If you are upsizing, there isn't as much urgency as if you are selling to downsize. I'll come on to downsizes in a minute. If you are selling to upsize, I'm not saying relax and take it easy. If you need to move, you still want to move, and so you still got to be proactive about it. But you don't need to worry about falling prices, as long as the prices where you're looking to buy are also falling at least the same rate as the property that you're selling, okay? Because the price differential is actually going to get smaller with time. But if you're moving home because you need to move home, you want to get that move done, do not worry about falling prices, but don't make the mistake of overpricing your property, okay? We're in a falling market. Don't make the mistake that I've already seen so many people making, dropping their price every month. 5 grand this month, 10 grand this month, 10 grand this month, 20 grand the next month, just chasing the market down, when if they just priced it realistically at the start, you'd have had competing buyers and got it sold, okay? That is the most likely reason that you will fail in your move, your upsizing move, is because you don't get realistic enough about the sale price and you end up stuck. But if you are downsizing, then the market is moving against you at the moment, all right? And you need to move as fast as you can. You need to choose your agent extremely carefully. Do not sign a lock-in agreement under any circumstances. And if you've got questions on that, just come and ask me questions on Twitter or LinkedIn or Instagram, or in the comments underneath on YouTube. But anywhere you want to find me, just come and ask me your questions about choosing an agent, all right? But do not sign a lock-in agreement, okay? And apart from those things, what I would just say is, be as cooperative and supportive with the agent or agents that you are working with for your move. They are going to be up against it. They are facing falling transaction volumes, falling income as a result, job uncertainty, and they also lose from the uncertainty and from deals falling through, as well as you, okay? So an agent doesn't want a deal to fall through, because if a deal falls through, it hurts them as well, okay? It creates more work for them for no extra money, okay? They lose their commission. So you want to love and hug your estate agent, okay, metaphorically speaking. When you find one to sell, you want to treat them like your best mate and work closely with them. And when you're looking to buy, you've got no choice or control over which agent you're buying through, but it still makes sense to cooperate with them, treat them well, and be the buyer that they want to sell the property to. Okay. I estimate the market's going to be falling until the middle to end of 2024. To answer that question on TikTok. But let's now take some other questions. What do we have here, guys? Okay, so a lot of scrolling to do here. I'm looking for anyone that says question. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you, John Rocks, Serena, 5050, Jackie Carvey. Oh, some new names here. Victoria Hamilton, True Speaker, Matthew Slight, Paul Croker. Right, guys, one of the questions I get asked all the time that I cannot answer is, I'm asked for regional predictions. I do not have any opinions on regional predictions. I can't do that. Sorry, just looking for some questions here. And if you've got questions on TikTok as well, give me your questions. Lots and lots of chatting. Question. So, Some Human is their YouTube name on YouTube, says, if properties in my local area are still selling in under 2 months after being listed on Rightmove, does that mean there is unlikely to be a price correction in my area? Not necessarily. It means that you might be in one of the, I don't know where you are, but it means you might be in one of those areas where the market leading agents doing the most deals are actually really good agents who know how to price properties correctly, and they're desirable properties, and there's a good market for it. I mean, yeah, it's a reasonable assumption to say that prices won't fall as far in an area where properties are still selling. But what you've got to be careful of is, are they selling, or are they just going under offer to sale agreed and then sitting there and not actually completing? I don't know if you know the answer to that, Some Human, but be warned, because there's lots and lots and lots of properties that sold really quickly back in May, June, July, and August that have come back on the market in November and December. Okay, so be really clever. Just because you see them going under offer or being taken off the internet doesn't mean they've sold. It means a sale has been agreed or they've been withdrawn completely. Let's look for the next question. Scott on YouTube says, would it be a good time to downsize and take the equity out? In a word, yes, but be very quick. You may be too late. Okay, John A. This is a very good question. This is for people who are selling and buying. Are you supposed to put an offer in and then put yours on the market, or the other way around? There's no hard and fast rule, but you are far more likely to have your offer accepted on your new home that you found if you've already got your property on the market, and preferably under offer with a sale agreed on your existing home, because otherwise you're going to be bidding against other people who also selling their home, and if they're at a more advanced stage of the sale than you are, your offer is more likely to be disregarded or rejected. Richie Lavery says, do I think affordability will change in the current climate? I see affordability improving. That's even taking into account rising interest rates. I don't know how long it's going to take, and in the end, it depends on the price that you can negotiate for the property that you buy. It doesn't matter so much about wider market affordability. You can get properties for 10% less than other people are paying for them if you know how to do it and you follow my tips. Just roughly, I'm saying not always, but as a guideline, you can often get a deal if you follow my rules about always being out there viewing, having your ducks in a row, and being in the right place for the right time for that motivated seller. David McKenzie on YouTube says, a friend showed me an email from an estate agent saying they're doing a New Year sale with 5% off all their properties. Really? David, I would give my right arm to see a copy of that email. I would give my right arm. Could you send me, private message me on Twitter or on Instagram or anywhere you can send it, or LinkedIn? I would really love to see that email. I won't name and shame the estate agent, but that is extraordinary if that's true. That's extraordinary. And that's really newsworthy. So I'd love to see a copy of the email if you've got it. Wow. Okay, so this is the most commonly asked. So Lydia Pizza on TikTok asks, is now a good time to buy, or would you wait? First time buyer here. So this is the question I get asked most frequently, and it means you're probably you must be a new follower to my channel, because it's the question I answer most frequently. But for all of you who are new, if you need a home and you want a home and you've got the money to buy a home, then it's always a good time to buy, provided you don't overpay. But you want to make sure that you've got good job security and that you factored in the falling prices into the price that you offer. But if you're comfortable where you're living and you're not under any time pressure, I would wait. Okay, because not just because prices have come down, there's going to be more choice, I think. By the spring of 2023, you're going to see a lot more choice. And by autumn, winter 2023, there'll be a lot more choice, because these house price falls don't happen overnight. They take their time. I can't answer questions on mortgages, guys, but my mortgage partners can. So go to mhwc.co.uk/mortgage, or if you're on TikTok, go to the link in my profile, which is my Linktree link, and you'll find the link to the mortgage guys there, and they can answer questions. Here's a good question. Matthew Slight asks, when do I think the impact of September budget and rate hikes will come out in house price indices? And do I think this impact will send shocks to sellers to be realistic? So it was late September. I mean, there was a real. Do you remember the 23rd of September 23 was the quasi-quartering mini budget clusterfuck? It was just terrible. It took a few. I mean, there was a few weeks and people just went, "What just happened?" and everyone stopped what they were doing. It took 3 or 4 weeks for the moving industry to just catch its breath and get back up and running again. So deals being agreed after that. I mean, you're talking October deals. It's going to be. So what will be October? I mean, you might begin to see it in some of the January highest price indices, but certainly by February and March, you will start to see the effects of that coming through in house price indices. But in terms of the actual Office for National Statistics or the official land registry, you won't see that until October, November, probably April, May, June. All right. Which is why I don't think we're going to see the biggest falls in house prices until the late spring, early summer, when that news starts to filter through and reality becomes a slap in the face with a wet fish for those sellers. Okay. Jackie Carvey on YouTube asks, is it realistic to offer 475,000 on a house listed at 500,000? Okay, well, that's a 5% below asking price offer. Now, there are two parts to my answer to this question. First of all, is it realistic to offer 5% under asking? Absolutely. But don't worry about the asking price. Offer the price you're comfortable with, whatever that may be. It might be 30% under the asking price because maybe the agent's listed it at a crazy high price and no one else is offering. You can offer whatever you like. They don't have to take it, but you can offer whatever you like. And if you are the only person offering, you might just end up in a negotiation and you might end up getting that property for an absolute steal. So it's not so much a question of is it realistic or not. It's a question of, well, is anyone else offering? And if not, you can offer what you think is a fair price for your circumstances that you're comfortable paying. I've got a new phrase, which is walk away, don't overpay. All right. So if you get into negotiations and the price gets too high, always be prepared to walk away. Never wed yourself to a house and go, I must have this house. I must have this house. I must pay whatever I have to get this house. Right. Just don't do that. It's just don't overpay, walk away. SS asks, slowing inflation and recession fears may limit interest rate rises in 2023. Agreed. Does this stop a major house price fall? No. Let me elaborate. It will certainly reduce the size of the falls if inflation slows and recession fears and interest rate rises end up being lower than expected. It will definitely have, there is a mechanical mathematical effect between interest rates and house prices. So if interest rates don't go as high as people are forecasting, yes, that will be good news in terms of the cost of mortgages. And that means if affordability improves, it means house price falls won't be so sharp. But it doesn't do enough to stop what's happening, because what we are seeing, guys, is the effect of quantitative easing stopping, right? We've had 14 years of money printing, almost £1 trillion, and that's now stopped and is going to be reversed. Okay. And I've seen arguments that say that it is the quantitative easing coupled with the very low interest rates that is responsible for 80% of house price increases in the last, whatever that period is. So what do you think is going to happen to house prices? I'm not saying they're coming down 80%, but what I'm saying is the money printing was a major factor in the inflation of house prices in the last 15 years, right? Since the last financial crisis. The Mitchells on Mara, do I answer questions about renting? I do, and I'm going to be doing a lot more of that this year, but that's not on this video. But I will be doing a lot more for renters this year because I've neglected you because there was just so much activity in terms of the house selling and buying last year that it just monopolized my time. But I promise to do a lot more about renting this year. Okay. The Mitchells asks, what % would you offer under asking price at the moment, factoring the market? Okay. This is a common question, and it's really important everyone understands the answer to this. Two different agents might put two different asking prices on the same property, right? So let's say that a property whose true value is £250,000. If the seller put that on with a good agent and they put it on at £250,000, well, then the asking price is £250,000, but it's a realistic one. If they put it on with an unrealistic agent that overvalues it and they go on at 275, which is 10% higher, yeah, it doesn't change the value of the house, but your percentage under asking price would be very different in that scenario. So my answer to this question about what % under asking price should you offer is always the same, which is it doesn't matter what the asking price is. You need to, I know it might sound weird and counterintuitive and difficult to understand when I say this, but I mean it. When you've gone out and viewed a property that you like and are considering living in, just disregard the asking price, right? Ignore the asking price. You need to be working out what that property is worth to you in your circumstances, and that's what you offer. Okay, does that make sense? Just disconnect it from asking price. It doesn't matter. With a realistically priced property, your offer might be 3, 4, 5% under asking price. With a ridiculously priced property, your offer might be 25 to 30% under asking price, and you might still get it. So I cannot give a blanket percentage answer to the what % under offer. Does that make sense, guys? It's really important you understand that, okay? The asking price varies wildly depending on which agent listed it and how out of touch the seller is. So that's why you have to disregard asking prices and work out what a property is worth to you. Sneaky Linux on YouTube says, lots of properties here in Dorset coming back on the market after apparently being sold. I think you're going to see an awful lot of that, guys. I think a lot of people whose deals fell through before Christmas are waiting to the new year to relist their properties. There's a reason that agents do that, because agents know that buyers who've been looking for a while will spot a property coming back on the market. But if they take it off the market for a month or two, there's less chance of that happening. There's more chance of them actually finding a buyer for it. So that's why they will be waiting until that to put it back on. Pocket of Kindness. The percentage price drop we might see up to mid-2024 is 35%. Okay, guys, come on. There's so many questions here. Okay, Daryl Hawkins asks, what's the difference between a correction and a crash? And the answer is absolutely nothing, because they're both meaningless terms coined by the media, right? Correcting us. I mean, you can say that when house prices go up, they're also correcting. So correction, I think, is weird because it implies that there was a mistake. It implies that house prices were mistakenly too high and they're being corrected. And correction is a positive spin that the industry puts on falling house prices, okay, to make it sound not quite, just correcting. We're just correcting how got a bit too high. It's just correcting. They're still falling. Correction, crash. There's no technical definition of a crash either. I have suggested to people that if prices fall 20% in a year, that's pretty much a crash. But I mean, prices don't actually crash, do they? I mean, ever, no matter how far, they just fall a long way. It's just a sensationalist term. There is no official definition for a correction or a crash or a slide or a slip or a plummet or a fall or any of these things, okay? They're all just meaningless terms. It's just how far will prices fall or drop or reduce over what period of time. That's all that matters. Don't worry about these different words. Arwen the Bard on YouTube says, whatever happened to having more than one agent? It's a bad idea. It's a terrible idea if you're selling a house to have more than one agent. There's this strange misunderstanding among a lot of people that if you're selling a house and you put it up with more than one agent, you've got a better chance of selling it. Not true. You look desperate because your property comes up twice on the national property sites, once with one agent, once with another. It's a bit like, oh, why is it on with both agents? Are they desperate? It's also demotivating for the agents involved. There is no circumstance that I can think of having a multi-agent scenario selling your house, because I can tell you that when you're an agent selling houses and you've got one that you know that one or two other agents are selling as well, or one that only you are selling, which one are you going to work harder to sell? You're going to work harder on the one that you're selling. So, multi-agency, there is an exception to this, but it's different. It's called joint sole agency, and that's when you instruct two or more agents, but whichever one sells it, they all share the fee equally. That happens quite a lot in London at the high end of the market, but it's not at the mainstream part of the market. No, Paul Hitchens, my views about price drop haven't changed. If you want to go back to the beginning of the video, you can see that. Bronia K asks on YouTube, why would somebody who's looking to downsize need to move fast? This is because if you're downsizing from, let's say, a £500,000 property to a £250,000 property, and they both drop 10%, then you're going to lose £50,000 on the one you're selling, but only get a £25,000 reduction on the one that you're buying. So that 10% drop will cost you £25,000 more than if you make the move before the drop. Does that make sense? If you're downsizing in value terms, let's forget size terms. If you're downsizing, meaning you're selling a more valuable property and moving to a lower value one, then if you assume that they're both reducing by the same amount, the longer you wait, the more you're going to lose on the price differential. Bronia, does that answer your question? I hope so. John A on YouTube says, it seems to me that this is almost like mass psychology. Everyone panics and starts selling like mad. You are going to see that happen. You are going to see that happen. I don't know exactly when, but one of the most respected, longest standing and most experienced agents I know, who's been through 3 house price dips, crashes, corrections, falls, plummet, whatever you want to call it. He says that there's what he calls an oh my god moment. I call it the oh fuck moment. I think and he's talking about when it's the agents who realize it first, okay? And we're still not sure whether or not all agents have finally had the wake up call or the oh fuck moment that I can't sell any of the properties on my books because they're all overvalued. That moment of realization when they got the valuing wrong on all their properties and they're not going to be able to sell them, therefore they're not going to be able to make their fees. They're going to have to call all their clients up and say, I'm really sorry, we're going to have to drop your price a long way to get it sold. And so there's a small delay between when agents have the oh fuck moment and when the sellers have the oh fuck moment. I'm sorry, I don't know why it makes me smile, because it's not good news for any of those people. But I think for me, it's like I'm doing my best to communicate the reality of what's happening in the property market out there, and yet it's mostly, apart from you guys, it's mostly just falling on deaf ears. People just don't think it's going to happen. But if I had to guess, when do I think the panic selling is going to start? Well, you would get an adoption curve, don't you? I reckon that the steepest climb in the adoption curve of panic selling. I'm not calling it panic selling, okay, guys, before everyone gets mad at me for using these words. That's the word in the question that I've been asked. It's going to be sometime between April and July. That's vague. It'll vary depending what part of the country you're in, but there we are. David Miller, interesting question. On Rightmove, when it says under offer or sold, is it worth calling them and asking, is it for sale to a cash buyer like I am? It's what it's worth doing, because what you want to do is you don't want to sort of be a presumptuous hey, I'm a cash buyer, so take my offer instead. They've done a lot of work. They've got the deal agreed. They've got a buyer who's happy because they've got a property that they've agreed a price on. What it is worth doing is calling the agent and saying, should that deal fall through, please give me a call. I'm a cash buyer. I really would like that property. That, no one will take offense at that. Nobody will be pissed off with that approach at all. It's respectful, but you're letting people know, because a lot of deals are going to fall through. So in any case, you should be registering with those agents anyway. Jack W asks, hi Charlie, how accurate are Rightmove and Zoopla price estimates of your property? Personally, I think mine is too high, but as high confidence. Sorry, is there more to your question, Jack? How accurate are Rightmove and Zoopla price estimates of your property? They are not accurate at all. They're so far from being accurate. It's a joke. So the reason that they do these price estimates, it's just designed to increase the likelihood of you contacting your agent and saying that you want to sell. But what you need to do is, I've done a video somewhere about how to value a property. And what you've got to realize is that there are three things that affect the price a property will sell for. One is the desirability of the property, but that's only one part of it. The other one is the buyer's position. Are they a cash buyer or not? Are they a mortgage buyer? Can they move quickly or not? And the third one is the personal financial circumstances of the seller. Are they a desperate seller or not? All three of these things will affect the eventual transaction price of the property. And that's why you cannot do accurate property valuations with online stuff, because you can't tell from a photograph, and there are no algorithms that can tell that a property smells of damp, right? And yet, if you go look at two properties and you walk into two identical properties next door to each other, one stinks of damp, the other one doesn't, and is nice and dry and smells nice, they're going to sell for different prices. Do you see? How well photographed they are will affect how many people inquire on them, and how many people are competing will affect the list of things that will affect the price it probably sells for is enormous. But the biggest thing that affects the price it probably sells for is the agent that you choose to sell it, always. So personally, I would just absolutely disregard those online price estimates. They are useless. Dar, I've had this question a few times. Interesting question. Dar asks, can I put an offer note directly in the seller's door? No, well, you can, but they'll still have to pay the agent because they have signed the deal with the agent that says if they sell it, the agent gets their fee. Okay, so the only time it's worth putting an offer note through someone's door is if it's not on the market, and then you put through a letter saying, listen, I don't know if you're thinking of selling a property soon, but if you are, I'd love to. Actually, I met someone that bought two properties like this recently. One in Scotland, one somewhere else. He literally asked around in the village, do you know anyone might be selling their house? And someone said, well, yes, I do. And it's not on the market yet. So, but if the property is on with an estate agent, no, there's no point putting offer notes through the door. I mean, there's no harm in doing it, but you'll probably be ignored. It's better to go through the agent always, because the agent, if you're a seller, put yourself in the seller's position, and you get a note through the door. You've got no idea what the circumstances. You don't know who they are. Have they been verified? Are they legitimate? Have they got the funds? Are they time wasting? So it's just generally not a good idea. Thomas Moran. Hi, Thomas. Happy New Year. I saw a YouTuber talk about how historically rents have never come down, even in property crashes, including 2008. Is this true? Surely affordability is a big factor. So I don't have all that data in my head, Thomas, but typically speaking, it was the case that when sales prices came down, rents went up. That was typically the case. I don't know if that's going to be the case this time around. I think it is to begin with, and there's a real problem with unaffordable properties, but I think the recession may change that, and I don't know what's going to happen, let's say, in mid-2024 with rents. But rents, people don't tend to look at long-term rental prices. They want to know what's happening right now. So it's a totally different topic. Kicking Mustang says, panic selling only happens when there are forced sellers. Well, there are going to be forced sellers, right? There are going to be forced sellers. Of that, we know, there is no doubt. There are people whose mortgages come to the end of the fixed rate term and they cannot afford the new variable rate mortgage. And some of them can't remortgage either for various reasons. So we know that there are going to be forced sales, right? Which is it's another reason why I think prices are going to come down. Even though there are government schemes to try and help prop things up, it's only going to help soften the blow slightly. Jay Singh says, "Hi Charlie, I think I might be naive increasing my offer on a house, which was shown to me before it's being marketed later this week. 3 buyers put in lower offers. Thoughts, please." This question is exactly why I always say that if you are buying a home, not an investment, because this does not apply if you're buying an investment property. If you're buying a home because you want to live in it, then securing the home and having it to live in is more important than saving a few £1,000 by trying to offer lower than you're actually prepared to pay. Which is why I always say, when you're going to make an offer on a home that you want to live in, and you're going to be possibly or probably up against other buyers, don't start low with the expectation of going up. Just don't do that. Work out the maximum price that you are comfortable paying. And how do you know you're comfortable? Well, imagine that price being accepted. Does it fill you with dread? Oh God, I've just committed to a price that actually I can't afford. Or if that price is accepted, does it make you go, oh my God, I'm so excited, we can afford that house? If that price it makes you excited, then that's a comfortable price. Okay. Set your maximum comfortable price, submit your offer by email and say, this is the maximum price we're prepared to offer this property. And if it's not accepted, we'll be walking away. If you want to go hardball, put an expiry date on your offer and say, if we haven't had this offer accepted by this date, then we're withdrawing the offer. And if anything, it'll go lower. Jay, it's not about naivety. If you're able to increase the offer on a house because you want to live in it and you're comfortable paying that higher price, I would just pay it. You know, what you're doing is you might end up paying a few thousand more than you would have done, but you've secured the property. So what's more important to you, securing the property or saving a few £1,000? If it's a home, pay the amount you're comfortable paying. Go for it. Jackie Carvey says, should we avoid sales from divorcing couples, as they will want to get as much as they can? All sellers want to get as much as they can. I don't think there's anything unique about divorcing couples there. So no, I wouldn't avoid it. If it's a home that you like, I wouldn't care who's selling it. Just looking for another question here. I better take one off TikTok, guys. Amy Hawley on TikTok asks, if you're buying from a family member, can one conveyancer handle both sides? No. I don't know legally, but it's not a good idea. It's important. Conveyancers don't compete with this. They're not trying to win. It's not like a court case in a court where one lawyer's going to win and one lawyer's going to lose. With conveyancers, they both win. It's the same, whatever the outcome. So it's better to have them one representing one side and the other one representing the other, because they cannot give you advice and also advise the other member of your family. It's a transaction between two people. It doesn't matter that you're related. So it would be a false economy to do that, and I don't think a conveyancer would agree to do that in any case. So many good questions. David Campbell says, an article in the Evening Standard this week with a London agent saying prices will drop by 3% this year, then level off next year. Is this a tad optimistic? Yes. Yes. Bronnie Kay says, if we had avoided looking at divorce sales, we would have looked at 75% fewer houses. Good point. I don't know if there are going to be stamp duty discounts, Tash. Okay, so TA says, can I explain why there seems to be few new properties coming onto the market? Do you mean right now? Or, I mean, we haven't got back to work yet. I mean, tomorrow, the 3rd of January, is the first working day back, and you're going to start to see more coming on now, okay? And also, a lot of sellers have not yet, a lot of the forced sellers haven't been forced back onto the market yet. Some people are waiting for the spring because they think they're going to get a higher price in the spring. That's a terrible mistake, I think. Gavin Ward says divorcing couples might want a quick sale. They're trying to escape each other. That's a good point. Right, guys, we've gone over the hour mark, so I got to wrap this up. But fantastic questions, so many good questions. I'd love to keep going. So many good questions. Oh, Jai R, thank you very much. You can use two different conveyances. Sorry, you can use one firm of conveyancers as long as there are two separate solicitors at the conveyancing firm. Apparently, Jai says he's done this before. Some mortgage brokers may query this. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's very helpful. Okay, I'm going to finish with this question. Okay, unless I see any other brilliant ones. Will the Bank of England bring interest rates back to sub 1% once inflation is under control? I don't think so. I don't think that's likely, no. I think they're going to have learned their lesson. I would be surprised to see rates drop below 2.5% the lowest, and probably more like 3.5% as the new normal. That's all I'm expecting. I'd love to keep going, guys, but I can't. Oh, no, I'm going to call it. I'm sorry. Otherwise, I'll never stop, guys. Thank you to everybody for joining this evening. It's been fantastic. Just remember, don't sign a long-term sole agency contract with an estate agent if you're selling. Never. The only reason that exists is to keep you stuck with that agent when you want to get away, but they don't want you to. All right, so don't do that. Otherwise, please, if you know someone who's moving house and they haven't heard of my channel, point them my way. I'm here to help anyone that's moving, buyer or seller. I will do more stuff on renting, guys, although it's just pretty brutal out there for renters at the moment, but I will still do what I can to help. And we'll be doing lots more live streams very soon. Keep your questions coming. And I'm just going to... Can you see me fighting here? Half of me wants to keep going because it's just I could see all these questions ticking through. But I've got to call it. I'm only having the one Guinness tonight, and that's it. And I've got to go and have some hangout family time now. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. Please share my channel with friends that you know that are moving. Actually, think of someone that's moving. And if you want to help me out, that would help me out massively. If you need a mortgage, then this would also help me out by using my mortgage guys. The link is on the screen right now, mhwc.co.uk/mortgage. Otherwise, have a wonderful evening, sleep well, and if you're back to work tomorrow, have a good day, first day back at work, and I'll talk to you soon and see you in the next video. Bye-bye, guys.